So basically, this is the town of Karánsebes, Romania. It's a pretty standard run-of-the-mill Eastern European town. You know, a former Soviet airbase, some beautiful old Transylvanian houses, some not-so-beautiful dystopian block housing, and a strange demonic bear thing. Now, you may be asking, why should I give a tinker's toss about this insignificant village of under 30,000? And to that I say, au contraire, mon frère, this town was the site of a battle that may just be the pinnacle of human ingenuity and prowess. This is the Battle of Karánsebes. We must go back 230 years to a different time when the United States was just a hormonal teenager, Germany still looked like splatter art, people thought this was attractive, and Europeans were worried about other religions. Wait. Anyway, European kingdoms were rather concerned about the Ottoman Empire because they were expanding quite rapidly, along with their worrisome ideals like Islam and coffee. So, in the mid-16th century, Europe was slowly losing their mind, especially the Habsburg monarchy, who had been pretty occupied with the Protestant Reformation as well as teaching France who's boss. Then turned around to find a massive Islamic caliphate had moved in next door, after they conquered the Balkans by literally fighting Dracula. So, the Habsburgs decided to start an extensive war to squeeze the Ottomans back into their box and stay away from their perfect Catholic society. This war was creatively named the Ottoman-Habsburg War. And yes, it's those Habsburgs. You know, the average Alabamian family. Anyway, back to Karánsebes. The date is September 21st, 1788. Habsburg and Ottoman forces have reached the Carpathian Mountains. The massive Austrian Habsburg army of 100,000 is setting up camp at Karánsebes, a strategically important city where the Timis and Sebeș rivers intersect. They send out some scouts to cross the river from the camp, which is located about here, to see if there are any Ottomans present. They find no Ottomans, but they do find some local Cigani, or gypsies, who are selling some alcohol. Now, being the responsible members of the Austrian army that they were, they graciously accepted and bought barrels of the stuff. To say they partied hard would be an understatement. They were thoroughly schnockered. So, some time goes by, and some infantry roll up and want to join in the schnockering, but the scouts tell them to heck off and get their own alcohol. Now, any normal person would just vulgarly call them a meaniehead and carry on with their lives, but no. They were determined, so a lengthy squabble ensued. As you may have guessed, a disagreement plus alcohol plus heavily armed soldiers does not equal a sensible man-to-man negotiation. So, during the argument, one of the soldiers got a bit too aggressive and fired a gunshot, causing both groups to just start attacking each other. The scouts even set up fortifications defending their barrels of alcohol from gunfire. Whilst fighting, one of the soldiers, who was obviously oblivious to the current situation, just decided it would be a good idea to start screaming, "Torch! Torch!" meaning Turks! Turks! Causing everyone to go ballistic and skedaddle from the scene thinking Ottoman forces were approaching. The fleeing troops started rampaging through the camp, telling everyone they could find that Ottoman forces were coming, causing massive hordes of soldiers to flee the camp as they expected the battle to occur in a few days, and thus were unprepared. A few officers tried to calm things down and yelled for the fleeing soldiers to halt, halt, but that didn't really work out so well because, you see, the Habsburg Empire is pretty big, right? And there are a lot of different peoples and languages spoken in it, so many of the soldiers were unfamiliar with German, which is what the officers were speaking. So instead of hearing halt, they heard Allah. At this point, virtually everyone in the camp thought they were being besieged and started shooting each other and fleeing into the countryside. Some commanders ordered for artillery to be fired in every direction, thinking that they were killing Turkish invaders, when in reality they were just gunning down Gunther, Karl, and Hans. Anyway, by this point, so many soldiers were either dead or had fled that the entire army had to abandon the camp and retreat.
2 days later.
Okay men, over that hill is the mighty Austrian army. Strong, smart, swole, and slick. The formidable force preventing our further expansion into Europe. Be prepared to die in the name of the Ottoman Empire.
So yes, 2 days after the Battle of Karánsebes, the Ottoman army arrived expecting to have a grand showdown with the Habsburgs, only to find around 10,000 soldiers either dead or wounded from the events a few days earlier, allowing them to capture the city with no resistance. An assortment of equipment was also lost in the battle, and Austrian officers even reported that a chest containing the entire army's payroll had been lost. Now for some quick clarifications. While this battle is great and all, it may not have actually happened, and even if it did, many of the details may not be too accurate. This is because the first accounts of the battle appeared in 1831, a full 43 years after it occurred, which would be like only now hearing about the death of Elvis. Many specifics are also pretty sketchy, such as the death count of 10,000, which came from this guy's biography of Joseph II, and he didn't even provide a single source to back his claim. So, who knows? Nonetheless, the battle has still gone down as one of the stupidest occurrences in human history, and has since been memed into oblivion. Some examples I will display to you now.
Oh, no, 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 no.
Cool.